Today on Forbes, Sanders and Khanna push national 5% annual billionaire wealth tax. Senator Bernie Sanders, an independent of Vermont, and Representative Ro Khanna, a Democrat of California, introduced legislation this week to impose a 5% annual wealth tax on America's billionaires. The so-called Make Billionaires Pay for Their Fair Share Act would apply to U.S. individuals with a net worth of at least $1 billion. An economic analysis of the bill, produced by University of California, Berkeley economists Emmanuel Saez and Gabriel Zuckman, relied on Forbes' real-time billionaire estimates of net worth as of January 1, 2026, when 938 U.S. billionaires collectively held nearly $8.2 trillion in wealth. The report noted that total U.S. billionaire wealth at the end of 2025 was up 132% in just 6 years. Billionaire wealth has grown particularly fast in the last 3 years, increasing 22% in 2025, 28% in 2024, and 20% in 2023. Over 15 years, they calculate that the proposed wealth tax would cut the fortunes of the typical billionaire in half. Senator Sanders, the ranking member of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, and Representative Khanna say that in its first year, the bill would provide a $3,000 direct payment to every man, woman, and child in households earning $150,000 or less. The remaining funds would be used, quote, to address the most pressing crises facing working families. That would include reversing $1.1 trillion in Medicaid and Affordable Care Act cuts in the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act that President Donald Trump signed in July, expanding Medicare to cover dental, vision, and hearing benefits for millions of seniors, and building, rehabilitating, and preserving more than 7 million affordable homes. The proposal would also ensure that no family pays more than 7% of its income on childcare. A report from Ready Nation, a national bipartisan organization, estimates that the lack of affordable childcare costs $172 billion annually in lost productivity, earnings, and tax revenue. Revenue would also establish a $60,000 minimum annual salary for every public school teacher in America, and expand Medicaid home health care for seniors and people with disabilities. Even assuming a 10% tax evasion or avoidance rate, the economists estimate that the tax would generate an estimated $368.5 billion annually, approximately 1.2% of GDP, and roughly $4.4 trillion over the 10-year budget window of 2026 to 2037. Those projections assume billionaire wealth grows at roughly the same pace as the broader economy. Historically, however, billionaire wealth has grown about 5 percentage points faster per year. The economists argue that the tax would narrow the gap between billionaire wealth growth and income gains for the average American family. As for avoidance, supporters argue it would be manageable. Because the tax would apply to fewer than 1,000 taxpayers, enforcement would be relatively targeted. And since this is a federal tax, flight would be limited. It's not as easy as picking up from one state and moving to another. American billionaires, like all American taxpayers, are subject to tax on their worldwide income. The only out? Renouncing U.S. citizenship, which under existing law would trigger a large exit tax. In a statement arguing that the tax code favors billionaires over average workers and that extreme wealth concentration threatens economic stability, Sanders said, quote, "At a time of unprecedented income and wealth inequality, this legislation demands that the billionaire class in America finally pay their fair share." As an example, Sanders pointed to Elon Musk, who as of Monday morning had a real-time worth of $833 billion. A one-time tax of 5%, or $42 billion, would leave him with approximately $792 billion. But the economists' analysis of the proposal also shows the more dramatic impact on billionaire wealth over time. For example, if Musk had paid 5% of his net worth each year since he became a billionaire in 2012, he'd have been worth only $363 billion, instead of $745 billion at the end of 2025. Under the proposal, Mark Zuckerberg, with an estimated net worth of $227 billion at the end of 2025, and Jeff Bezos, worth $244 billion at year's end, would owe $11 billion and $12 billion, respectively. For full coverage, check out Kelly Phillips Erb's piece on Forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in.